Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FSB's national webinar on how to make your business appy. I'm Jennifer Thomas, FSB's Development Manager for the counties of Leicestershire, Northamptonshire and Rutland, and I'll be your host for today. We hope you find today's event useful in moving your small business further into the digital space, but also using apps and technology to streamline your business, given the strain we're all under at the moment, and reach your customers more effectively. Our first speaker, Rich Bishop, is a seasoned FSB volunteer as well as a software developer, IT, web and mobile consultant. He'll provide an overview of some software and apps available to businesses and how these can help automate processes and save time in your business. Our second speaker, Joyce Ong, runs a marketing consultancy that delivers affordable mobile app solutions, LinkedIn lead generation and SEO, search engine optimization services. Joyce is going to talk a bit more about the steps you'd need to take if you're considering creating a bespoke app for your business. So at FSB, we have our own bespoke app for our members. And if you haven't already downloaded it, make sure you do. And you can access all those great member services and benefits as well as the events through our app. We've also recently launched an app to help our members with the Making Tax Digital program that the government have rolled out. So you can find details of all of these on the FSB website. We've got lots of content to share with you today, but we will take questions at the end and try to get through as many as possible. I'm sure our speakers will also be happy to connect on LinkedIn. Please use the questions to panelists button to send over your questions, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as we can. Today's session will be recorded and shortly available on our on-demand page on the FSB's website in case you want to watch it again. If you aren't yet an FSB member, we'd love to have the opportunity to speak to you further about the benefits of joining. So please do visit our website, fsb.org.uk, to book a meeting with a membership advisor. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Rich to share his slides. Rich.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me and see my slides, and we'll start from here. But yes, thanks for having me this morning. Hopefully we'll fill in some gaps around kind of technical knowledge and what you might want to do about kind of using apps within your business, and then Joyce pick up what you might want to do about using apps for your customers. So a bit of information about me. So hopefully give you a bit of background as to why I'm kind of talking here. As mentioned, I'm a bit of a seasoned FSB volunteer, but also I'm a big professional geek. So I started writing software at age 9 and I turned that into a business at 16. And I've now been working with SMEs and large businesses in the UK and all around the world, really, for the last 17 years. I've run businesses in retail, food, accounting, financial advice, education and broadcasting, say former regional chair for the FSB. And I currently do work with people like the CBI, the British Computer Society, so Chartered Institute for IT, and the Workspace Company of Information Technologists. I'm also a productivity advisor for Be the Business. So I'm still very much kind of fingers in these pies, trying to help as many small businesses as I can to be kind of as digitally efficient as they can. So through my company Orcus, we kind of do that improvement of efficiency and productivity in businesses. So we do, when people talk about being full stack developers, we kind of really are. We'll do everything from the kind of consultation piece, trying to find you solutions kind of off the shelf, all the way through to, I don't know, rolling our own operating system for certain clients and things like that. So there's an awful lot that we do for our clients, and we are kind of that full stack bit. But somewhat counterproductively, I'm also very bad at selling bespoke software, because actually I more times than not try and talk people out of buying bespoke software and look at what's available cheaper and easier off the shelf to help them solve their problems. Basically, the aim is to get computers to do everything they possibly can, freeing the humans to do the bits that, freeing them from the monotonous bits that they don't like and doing the bits they do like and they're better at. So building those relationships, the creativity, etc. Get computers to do the crunching, and you kind of get humans to do the bits that they should be better at. So why are we talking about apps in terms of kind of improving our businesses? So 25% of SMEs, only 25% of SMEs currently use digital tools to increase productivity. And a stat from the CBI's Seize the Moment report, which was supported by the FSB, has pointed out that if 100% of SMEs integrated digital tools into their business to improve their productivity, it'd be worth £45 billion to the UK economy. But 66% of business owners do agree that they need to update their skills and move forward. So there's a big gap here between those who are doing it and those who realise that they really should do. So hopefully today we'll look a little bit more about what you can be doing now, because almost a third of business owners say they don't know where to get that information from. The biggest pushback I normally get from people when we start talking about digital solutions to problems is that we can't afford new software systems. And I completely get that, especially if you're looking in the bespoke field of building bespoke software for your business and looking for specialists to come and do things. However, that's not necessarily a barrier to implementing good tools within your business. So what I'm going to do first is spend some time looking at some completely free tools that are available to you that will just help you to get the most out of your business. So as an example, we've got here, I'll play the video in the background, talking about Google Workspace. So for those of you who haven't come across it before, the video that's on screen now will hopefully be demonstrating a little bit what you can do. So we're talking about email, we're talking about chat, calendar, drive storage for your files, document editing, spreadsheets, creating meetings, etc. And the great thing about using a tool like Google Workspace is, one, it's free. And so you can use free versions of all of these tools, which is amazing. But also, it's very, very collaborative. So when you're editing a document, you can have hundreds of people in that document editing it with you. So if you're pulling a presentation together with colleagues, you can do that in real time and you're not having to pass files between each other. Oh, this is version 0.7.4.2, please use this one now. What you're actually always doing is looking at the live version constantly. So whether you're chatting with people, whether you are kind of creating documents, whether you are just trying to organize your life, there's a great tool for keeping things in a single place in the cloud for free. And looking a little bit more at that, this is an example of kind of pulling together an event that Google have produced here, just to think about kind of what you could be saving in software terms as well. So if you think about Gmail and Calendar as being a bit like Outlook, Chat and Meet being a bit like Teams and Zoom, Docs looking a bit like Word, Sheets being a bit like Excel, Slides, PowerPoint, and Drive looking at OneDrive or Dropbox. When you think that all of those Google products are available for free, imagine what you could actually be saving without spending lots on licensing costs for alternative software. And I say the video that you're watching here now is people pulling together a set of tasks, sharing them between each other, tagging individuals in it, so everyone's being told what they need to do, and then like sharing files, editing them together, etc. So it's a whole suite of kind of super productivity where you're not passing things between each other. You're actually be able to pull everything into a single place and edit it at the same time. So if I move on to the next slide, if it's going to let me, there we go. So let's look at another tool here as well, which I've got another video for. So this is Miro. Now, think of Miro as a massive, and I mean super massive whiteboard that everyone can be using at the same time. So the video you're seeing here, every one of those little colored cursors that's going around is dragging and dropping things into this. And you can see that all happening in real time. Sticky notes are being put up, flow charts are being drawn, pages from websites are being brought in. And it's a great collaboration tool to kind of bring together every aspect of a project, of an idea, and maybe even kind of a replacement for an intranet style thing where all the documents are kind of in one place at once. It's real time, it's super massive, and you can do it again for free. There are paid versions of this as well, but you can do it for free. If you go for the paid versions, there's all sorts of other things you can integrate it with as well. And I'll come back more to integrations a little bit later on. Let's see if I can get onto the next slide again. It's not liking me today. There we go. So a couple of other things to talk about here as well would be things like Calendly and Doodle. Now, if you are forever arranging meetings or client calls or trying to arrange a catch up with somebody, sending those times backwards and forwards of, oh, I'm available on Thursday the 18th at 4 p.m. I mean, it's not such an issue if you're working in the UK, but if you're working internationally, it's, oh, what time zone is that? Is that my time zone? Is that your time zone, etc.? Well, looking at tools like Calendly and Doodle, which are both available free of charge, For Calendly, what you're able to do is send someone a link that allows them access to a curated version of your diary, so they can go in and pick a slot that works for them. The view they see is in their time zone, and it allows them to say that they're going to meet you on Zoom or Teams or whatever. It handles all of that for you without you having to think about it. So all you say is, yes, it'd be great to catch up. Here's my Calendly link, and there you go. They can deal with that themselves then and book it in at a time that's convenient for them. And you know it's convenient for you because it's linked to your diary and only allows them to book on slots that are available. Doodle, basically the same thing, but this time it's on a group scale. So if you're looking to arrange with multiple people, you're able to put a calendar up and people can go in and say, I'm available that time, I'm not available this time, I might be at a push available. And what it does, it can pull together then a list of the dates where everybody is available for that particular meeting, or at least the majority are, and it can show you then which is the best date and time for that. And then you go ahead and arrange the meeting. Again, saves all that chains of emails backwards and forwards. There we go. What about taking payments in your business? So this isn't technically free, but nothing about taking payments is. I mean, even cash handling these days is not free. So if you want to take online and in-person payments, think about companies such as ones on here. So Stripe, Zettle, SumUp. Okay, these are companies who specialize in online payments, but actually all three of them have in-person terminals as well. Now, with a lot of card processing companies out there, they'll charge you monthly fees, they'll charge you recurring fees for the rental of equipment, etc. The reason why I'm talking about these in a free category is because actually once you've paid for some hardware, if that's what you want to do, that's yours. You keep it, done. If you're only using the online system, you don't pay anything up front at all. So you've got no worries at all about kind of recurring monthly fees. What you're talking about is kind of a small percentage per charge that's going through. And again, it's a really easy way of accepting cash or accepting money into your business that isn't cash handling. And if you're talking about regular payments, you can absolutely do that through those platforms as well, through card. But actually, direct debit's a really good way of setting that up as well. And you can set up kind of variable amounts on direct debits as well as kind of recurring set amounts. And again, that's really simple for small businesses these days without any upfront fees. So company Go Cardless specialize in this. And rather than having to go to your bank and paying for all the mandates and setting up your direct debits, they'll handle all that for you. No upfront fees, no monthly payments. They'll just take 1% of your transactions that go through up to £4. And so straight away, it's a free cost of bringing money into the business, money into the business without having to pay upfront any kind of expensive fees. Here's a website I wanted to highlight to everyone as well. And I will say that I've put a link in the final slide of this to access these slides if you want to come back and look at them later. There's a website called alternative2.net. And what it does, it contains nearly 100,000 apps on there with nearly 800,000 opinions, which basically says, if I press play on there, if you want to use something like Photoshop, for example, rather than use Photoshop, which might be expensive for you, here are a bunch of free tools that might be available at your disposal instead, with comments underneath about how other people have found using them. It just allows you to maybe think differently about expensive software for your business. You might realize that you really do need a piece of software, but it's too expensive. This kind of platform would allow you to go on and work out whether there's a cheaper or even free way of doing it. What about expensive photos? So we've all seen stock photographs all over the place and things like that. And often you'll see stock royalty stock photos all over the place, which want many, many pounds just to be able to use their image. Well, there are alternatives. So Unsplash is an example of that, where you can go on and look for royalty-free photographs that you can use in your business, in publications, on your website, etc. And you've got none of those copyright issues. You've got none of those kind of payment issues that you might need to pay a royalty for this in the future. So that's all kind of sorted for you, and again, free of charge. And then I'm going to call it Photopea. I'm not too sure how you meant to pronounce it, but Photopea. Now, this is a fantastic tool that I use kind of at least a couple of times a week. And it's basically a cut down version of Photoshop, but in your web browser. Nothing to install, nothing to buy. It's ad supported. You can crop images, you can change the color tones and stuff. You can remove things like good old Photoshop, where you kind of remove things out of a photograph, etc. And all of it available completely free of charge to you. Ad supported. Again, you can pay if you want to, but it's a complete optional thing. So then, having waxed lyrical about all these free tools, the question I'd normally get asked is, can you really run a business on all these free tools? So I wanted to explain that today, this presentation I've created so far has all been done for free. So I created my mind map for it in Miro, I've presented it in Google Slides, and I've shared it with colleagues in advance of this call so that they could have a look at the slides before doing this. All the files involved in it are all stored in Google Drive for free. I found all the stock photos that I've used on Unsplash. I've edited them in Photopea. I recorded my screen using the screen recorder plugin for Chrome, which again was free. And if the FSB were paying for this, which they're not, but if they were, I could have created an invoice and sent it through Stripe, and they could have paid it through Stripe as well. So can you run your business through free tools like this? Hopefully, I've just shown that you can run many elements of it because of what I've just demonstrated now. But free tools aren't everything. So let's talk about stuff that you probably should be and will be paying for. So what about some of the paid apps and services you might want to look at? Now, when people say to me about changing all of their apps and services in their business, wanting to digitize their business, my first question to all of them is, what software do you use for your finance? Because arguably that is one of the core parts of your business that you really don't want to mess around with and change. Now, there are some good cases why you would want to do that, and we'll come on to that in a little bit. But if you've already got something and you're happy with it, that's the last thing I want to be able want to change in a business. I want to find tools that work with those. So I would say if you're using something like Xero, Free Agent, QuickBooks, that is a great place to start. If you're not using those and you're using some other system, whether you're keeping it all in spreadsheets, as mentioned earlier on, the FSB's MTD platform, they're great, they work, but they won't necessarily connect all the other things together around you. So think about these three especially. Now, you'll notice on the slide that Sage is missing, and I will come back to a reason why I've missed Sage off that list. But if you are using Sage, we'll come back to that. Some of this still applies to you, but I'll explain why it might not be such a good idea a little bit later on. The reason why I say about using that as your core basis is because all of those three that we talked about, and Sage a little bit, have an ecosystem around them of other products and services that other people have built and other suppliers who have all integrated with that as a finance system. So here's just a snapshot of, if you go to the apps page on Xero, this will tell you all of the apps that are available that integrate with your Xero package. And you can see there's a lot of icons and logos there. And you can see, again, they've all got their ratings, so you can kind of work out what might be good for you, what might not be, and there's some comments and things like that on there as well. But this is just a snapshot, and I'll come back to Xero a little bit more in depth later, because there are lots and lots of these that can help you organize your business better. Again, with Free Agent, same thing, they call it integrations, but there's a page on the Free Agent website which tells you all of the things that you can integrate into Free Agent. And again, there are hundreds, if not thousands of these. And again, with these, both Free Agent, Xero before, and QuickBooks I'm going to talk about, they also have an API. So if you're ever working with a developer who is building something bespoke for you, they can also make that application work with these things as well. And again, same with QuickBooks. Slightly smaller list, but they've still got a very, very good list of lots of apps and services that are built into their ecosystem. So I mentioned, why not Sage? And there is a marketplace for Sage, as they call it, which is all these other apps and things that work alongside Sage. But my caveat is, as a developer who develops with these platforms all the time, Sage have a really odd model where they charge a lot of money and make it very difficult for app developers to work with them, partly because I think they believe that the ongoing kind of profitability of that integration for the app developer is quite high. If you're a Sage user, you're used to paying quite a lot for things, therefore you're probably going to be paying quite a lot for your add-ons as well. What it does mean, though, is that some of the best tools out there that would really transform your business don't have Sage integrations, because for the developers, it's not worth the risk of the costs of getting involved in it. So they hold back from Sage because it's a little bit too expensive for them to get involved. So if you are using Sage, you absolutely do have a marketplace, and you do have other bits and pieces you can build your business around. I think that's brilliant. But what I would say is you may not have the wide variety that some of the other platforms have available to you. So do have a think about whether that might be one of those very minor cases where you might want to consider a different platform. So let's go deep dive into Xero. Purely as an example, but this still works for Free Agent, QuickBooks, and there's a few others out there that this would work for as well. So these are all the things that you can do in Xero right from the off. So this is all stuff that's built into a finance package. So it's not just about bookkeeping and your VAT. You can also kind of do all your expense claims in it. It can link up to your bank. You can accept payments through the platform. You can run your payroll through it. You can keep track of projects, hold files, inventory and stock information you've got in there. You can handle multiple currencies, which you kind of expect for a finance package. But there's all sorts of things you can do in what is just a finance package. And it's the same with the others as well. There's lots of extra bits you can do. And all of a sudden, if your inventory is inside there, you're not having to do stock, you're not having to manually do stock takes all the time. You can do stock checks every now and again to make sure your inventory matches up, but you can run the reports really quickly. If you're running your payroll through here, then all of a sudden your payroll and your finance software also all matches up. And it's just a couple of extra clicks just to run a payroll rather than having to use a completely different system or service to do it. And this is what's built into Xero. If you then wanted a CRM system to sit alongside it, which would allow you to keep track of your contacts, help spot potential upsells, market extra services to existing clients, again, there are hundreds of CRM systems which will link directly into Xero. So they will then have access to how much people are actually paying you and how much each client is maybe worth to you. But also making sure that when you update your contact details in one or the other, they both update. So if you're suddenly having to change where an invoice is going to, you can update it in one system and your CRM picks up those changes. Having that deep integration stops all that copy typing. It brings information through, but also can synchronize between as well. If you're looking for an HR system, so we've talked about running payroll, great, fantastic. But actually, what if you need to process payroll worldwide, or you've got rotas or timesheets you need to manage, or a good system for staff to request holiday? Again, there are loads of little add-ons that you can add on top of Xero, as an example, and Free Agent and QuickBooks, which would allow you to help manage that kind of day-to-day admin of payroll and HR as well. And again, by bringing it all together, if you're managing your rota and timesheets or staff holidays through a system that's also talking to what you're running your payroll through, all that information gets pulled through and used without too much messing around. And what about point of sales? Kind of the same, really. You've got lots of different options for taking payment, both physically in person, but also online. And again, if that links to your accounting software, which also knows your inventory, you can keep your stock and sales information all bang up to date, and it saves hours of re-entering that sales information. Other apps and services I want to quickly talk about. So Zapier is a great system to look into. It's an online platform that basically links all of your online platforms together. So their slogan is automate your busy work. And I think that's basically what it is. So it saves you hours and hours by getting all your different systems to talk together. So if there isn't a deep integration already, you can build one yourself by saying, if this thing happened, notify this other app. Location, location, location. For people who haven't come across three words before, this is a brilliant way of giving pinpoint directions to people using human readable words. So the example on screen here, that's the kind of longitude and latitude of a GPS position, which is fine, but it's translated in what three words as filled count soap. So it's actually three words, which are words that you can say that you aren't going to get digits missed off. And the example I've used on the left here is the FSB's headquarters in Blackpool. There are two main buildings and two entrances. And by being able to give a three-word address for each of them, I can pinpoint people to the exact door they have to go through, rather than just kind of the postcode for the road or something like that, where they might then have to work around. So if you are using directions or trying to identify where places are, customers, or trying to direct them to you, it's a great way of doing that more accurately. And CCTV systems, I've put here, have eyes everywhere. There are lots of CCTV systems out there which are designed for consumers, but absolutely would work in your business as well. They're really easy to set up, much, much cheaper than your dedicated kind of massive CCTV system. So have a look at things like Nest from Google, or Ring, which I believe is Amazon now. and have a look at those cameras and services, because again, you can then have an app in your pocket which is then alerting you to movement in the business premises at night, or even just keep an eye on the shop floor during the day, or whatever you want to be able to do. So there's lots of those kind of consumer grades things which would be absolutely applicable for business as well. So where do you start with this? Well, just to give you another stat on this, 53% of businesses that adopt technology are unsuccessful. So you can all go home now, it's a complete waste of time. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's what the reason for that is because they don't also add leadership and management skills alongside it. So it's not just about we're going to bring in a new system and it's going to solve all our problems. You've got to build that whole thing around it as well, of how you're going to use it, who's going to manage it for you, how you're going to encourage others to keep up to date with using it. Because otherwise, even if you do get a free tool rather than pay for one, you're going to have wasted your time trying to work out what the correct tool is if no one then goes on to use it. So don't be those people, the 53% who are unsuccessful because they haven't put that leadership and management skill in place as well. I would also say, just like changes with your lifestyle and medication, always consult a professional first. In this case, digital rather than medical. But before you make any significant changes to your business or invest significant time, do find yourself a nice, friendly, professional geek, such as myself, but there are quite a few of us around. Maybe offer to buy them coffee or lunch at some point to borrow a bit of their time, just to get a clarity on, or just get some clarity on whether your idea is the better one for this. That's not to say always go and pay for professionals to do this for you, but it's just make sure what you're going to do is going to be the right thing for your business, and try and tap into that kind of knowledge and skills. There are places you can go to find free help as well. So I mentioned about being an ambassador for Be the Business. There's a fantastic kind of wealth of information on the Be the Business website. FSB, Good Things Foundation, and Google came together to create the Make It Click campaign as well, which is all around digitization of small businesses. So there's some information there for you about that as well. The Open University, you've got some fantastic free courses where you can go from like an hour to 100 hours of learning about all sorts of different areas of running business, including digitization. So again, free tools there. And Google's Digital Garage is available to you as well, which will help you use their tools, but also think about kind of marketing and promotion for your business and how to make the most of that as well. So I hope that's kind of a very quick run through, but I hope that's really useful for you. The slides are available, the web address is on the screen there, and it'll take you straight into those Google Slides. And if you do want to stay in touch, my details are there, and I'll put those somewhere in a moment so you'll be able to see them. But yeah, that's all for me. I'll answer some questions later on.
Thank you, Rich. That was so helpful, interesting. And in particular, I did say we had a lot to cover, and I was not being, I wasn't exaggerating. So that was a fantastic whistle-stop tour. And this is the joy of recording this, that people can watch this back. But I'm very grateful that you've provided so much information there, Rich. Now, our next speaker, as I mentioned, is Joyce. So Joyce has been coming to FSB events and talking about her topic to many of our members who've recommended it. So Joyce, I'm going to pass over to you if you'd like to share your slides about if you are considering creating an app for your business. There, you're on mute, Joyce. There she is.
Apologies. I hope you can see my slides now. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Right, so Rich has given you a fantastic overview of free and paid apps in the marketplace today that will help your business become a lot more productive and to help you run your business in a better way. So what I'm going to do is, for my section, I'm going to drill down to talk about business apps, what they are, how can they apply to you, how can they help your business, and in particular, I'm just going to focus on B2C consumer-facing type of apps and how you can actually use them to help you with your marketing. So I hope that's helpful. So in this section, we're going to cover the app landscape today, where I hope to be sharing some statistics and some trends with you. And then I'm going to talk about how these trends and stats can apply to your business. If they do apply to your business, how can you take advantage of these stats, which I'm going to talk about. And then also share with you a little bit about marketing communication. So when you do have an app built, what do you do next? Because that bit, what do you do next, is just as important as the design, development, and publishing of your app. And if we do have some time, finally, I hope to share with you three quick real-life examples of the apps that we've built. A little bit about me before I go on. So we are a homegrown, affordable app agency for SMEs. I say homegrown because our core tech team is based in Leicester, and myself, I'm based in Southwest London. So together we design, develop, and publish apps that can generate repeat business for your B2C business. We also provide your customers and yourself with convenience as well, and also save your business time and money in doing so. So myself, my background has always been marketing with a particular keen interest in technology, especially affordable technology that's available, readily available, tried and tested in the market, and suitable for SMEs. So that's exactly where my interest lies in. So the app landscape today. So going to share with you some 5 statistics, 5 trends, which I hope will be useful. So first of all, we may know already that mobile internet usage has been rising. It still continues to rise while desktop usage continues to fall. So if you do look at the traffic stats on your website, you realize that mobile is slightly increasing and desktop usage has been decreasing. Mobile apps also account for 57% of all digital media usage. So all digital usage, out of all of that, 57% are deriving from mobile applications. So this is really a global statistic there. 39%, there has been a 39% increase in the average time spent on mobile devices from 2015 to 2021. So I don't know exactly what the hours of usage are, something like more than 3 hours now on average. So this has increased over the years as well. In fact, there's 39% increase in time spent over the years. Now, we all know apps in the productivity sphere, the Google suite of apps, also banking apps as well, social media apps, and apps such as Netflix. So these sorts of apps in these industries were, for most of us, our first introduction into the world of apps. But I'm not sure if you're aware that over the years, apps from various other industry sectors such as education, hospitality, food and drink, travel, health and fitness, entertainment apps have also slowly been on the increase. So if you look at the App Store, apps in the App Store today, these industry sectors which I've mentioned here are in the top 20 by share of available Apple App Store apps. So they have been on increase, and you're increasingly seeing more and more of these business branded apps in these industry sectors. So that's something to take note of. And lastly, as of March 2022, more than 90% of iOS apps, Apple apps, and the Apple App Store, they are available for free. And in a Google Play Store, this is also 97%. So overwhelming percentage of apps in the App Store are free today. And that's because most of these apps are free, because these businesses that have built these apps want people to use it. So they want to make it as frictionless as possible for people to be able to download these apps for free. And also the other thing to bear in mind is if you're thinking of building a paid app, which means you want people to have to pay for your app in order to download it, then bear in mind that the number of downloads you're going to get from your app is going to be much lower. And also Apple takes a cut of the App Store payments in the App Store as well. So that's something to bear in mind. So the question you might be asking is, can your business take advantage of all these opportunities? What do they mean to you? So I'm just going to share with you 3 requisites based on our own experience building and marketing apps for clients. 3 requisites that I think are really important for a B2C, a business to consumer facing type of app to be successful. So I call them the 3 C's in my webinar. So the first C being content. It's important to have content for your business, and by content I mean online content, the stuff that you post on social media, how regularly you would update your website. So these are quite key indicators of whether your B2C apps is going to be successful or not, and that is because if you do build a B2C app, you're going to realize that you have to regularly refresh your content in order to get people to keep visiting your app and keep interacting with your app. So for example, if you do have a website that's 10 years old and you haven't actually updated it for the last 10 years, then that probably isn't really going to be very helpful when you're trying to build an app for your business. So the second C is community, and that means your customers and your followers. We're not really talking about the unicorn apps of this world, such as Uber, but we're really talking about apps for your business and my business. The apps that you see local to you, the businesses that you see local to you in the marketplace. So it could be your restaurant, the pub near you, for example. It could be an accountancy firm on your high street. So these are the sort of established businesses that we talk about. So it's important to note that for the app to be successful, you need to have a readily available community that you can share and communicate the app with. So these are your customers and your followers on your social media as well. The third prerequisite, I would say, is commitment, really. So as Rich has mentioned, has touched on earlier in his presentation, commitment is all about making the app successful. How do you do that? So after building, designing, developing, and publishing an app, you need to set aside a marketing budget for promoting the app, for launching the app. And of course, you would need to get your team buy-in as well. Who are the stakeholders within your organization whom you need to sell the idea of the app to, and can you get their support in testing the app, for example? And also the budget that you have is important to help you launch the app to the marketplace, and also continually market the app, weave the app into your marketing communications plan. So if you are actually thinking at this point that you might want to consider investing in an app now, where do you start? So this is a question I often get, and it can be quite confusing for a first-time business that's considering having an app for the first time. So hopefully this slide will be helpful for you to get started. So there's various types of apps available in the marketplace, and app suppliers, app vendors in marketplace. So the first of them is if you're cash poor and you're time rich. So for example, you may be a startup, you don't really have very much funds to start with. You might want to start exploring a no-code or a low-code DIY platform. And I give you 2 examples there, App Institute and Zoho. We're not affiliated to these app platforms, but they're just available on the market, and they're relatively cheap to start with. However, I will say that they don't really offer any other support, such as marketing, for example. They're just a platform that exists to help you build your own apps from there. So if you do have a tight budget and you do need an app built to your specifications, then you might want to think about hiring freelance app developers. And you can find these freelance app developers on platforms such as Fiverr or Upwork, which I think most of us are familiar with these platforms, and they do have reviews about these freelance app developers as well. So that's one alternative, or reach out to me if you want me to recommend a freelance app developer. We're not affiliated with them, but we do know quite a few on the market who may be able to help you build an app. And if you do have a tight budget, but you do require a one-stop shop solution. So for example, you have a tight budget, you don't really know how to market your app, how to launch your app, you do need a little bit of help after the app has been published, then perhaps you might want to look at an app agency such as ours, for example, where we can help you to white label and build your app with your brand in mind, and also provide you with tailored support throughout the whole process. So for example, if you work with someone like ourselves, which is an affordable app agency, then we will be able to help you to build the app and also to launch it and to help you with the app marketing as well, such as launching, creating push notification campaigns, implementing them throughout the year for you. So these are some of the examples of things that we can do with a one-stop shop solution. And lastly, if you do have a budget to scale your app over the long run, then you can consider hiring a custom app development company, such as Riches, for example, which is a custom development app agency. The prices here can vary greatly depending on your specs again. So I would suggest that if you're interested to find out about costs, either reach out to us, or we do have an app calculator here that you can try out for yourself, just to get a rough idea of how much it might cost with the sort of specs that you have. Please note that we're not affiliated in any way with this website. I'm just recommending that you can use the website calculator to give yourself an idea of the app cost estimate there. So lastly, I'm going to talk about marketing and comms. Where do apps fit? How do you market your app successfully? So I'm going to share with you three main things here. So first of all, you want to define your app marketing goals. What is your goal? What's your marketing goal for the app? Is it just purely for brand awareness, or do you want to get more footfall into your restaurant or into your pub, for example? See, these are quite different goals there. So it's worthwhile just thinking about the goals that you have and also the audience that you have. Is it the same audience that you have at the moment that you want to offer the app to, or do you want to reach out to a new demographic, a new audience altogether for them to use the app? So it's useful to set aside a budget for app development, and not only that, to set aside a budget to launch your app and also to market your app as well to the market. Secondly, you also want to think about integrating your app marketing activities into your marketing plan. I think it's quite important to note that the app is not a standalone piece of technology with its own marketing plan. The app should be considered into the overall marketing plan that you have, into your overall content strategy that you already have. And also to ask yourself the question, who's actually responsible for implementing app marketing? Who's responsible for creating content, updating content on the app, and also for setting and scheduling push notification campaigns throughout the year? So these are important questions to be asking yourself and your team as well when you think about investing in mobile app technology. And thirdly, it's important when you first launch your app to also get app reviews as quickly as you can from your followers and your supporters. And also to make your app sticky, to always try to be front and center in your app users' minds, in your audience's minds, the people that you want to be able to use your app. So to do this, you could incorporate the App Store badges or links or QR codes. If it's a print media or PDF media, for example, QR codes are always very helpful. To incorporate these devices, marketing devices, in your emails, your socials, the events that you run, even your website, print, etc., etc. So in other words, have it in as many marketing channels as you can possibly have, in order to remind people that you do have an app and why is it useful, how is it useful for them. So next I'm going to talk about give you some real life examples of some of the apps that we have built for our clients. So first of all, the one on your left that you see is an events app. So we built an app for TEDx Kingston, which is my local TEDx community. So this is an events app. When it came to us, TEDx wanted to collect customer data. They didn't have any customer data when they first came into town, and so that was the main challenge. So we decided to then build a piece of technology to allow them to capture customer data. So essentially, before the customer can actually download the app, we capture customer data. We send a pop-up form, a very simple form capturing their data in order for us to be able to convey information on a TEDx event to our followers, to our local followers in Kingston. So the aim of this app was very, very simple: just to create a mailing list, to create data, to collect data from our local followers. Next, I'm going to talk about, and this I'll credit this to my colleague from Big Buzz Solutions, who have created a community app. Now, this app was built out of a necessity during the lockdown, and it was a local app for local people. So it was a way for Big Buzz Solutions to reach out to local community and convey timely information to the local community and business owners as well, local to them in Harpenden. So there's lots of information, useful information for local residents, especially during the lockdown. And this app continues to be very successful today as a gateway of information for local residents and local businesses as well. And also presents and also gives local businesses some advertising opportunities, advertising space on the community app, which local businesses have found very, very useful there. And the third example is a loyalty app. So this is a chain. It's a loyalty app for a small pub chain based in Wales that we are building for them. This pub chain has acquired a chain of 10 apps, and they wanted to collect customer data. They don't know who the customers are, and also they want a way for the customers to be in touch with the local pub, and by giving out loyalty stamps, for example, much as you would with a coffee chain, a loyalty stamp to get the customers to keep coming back and to be rewarded each time they come back. And also a way for the pub chain to convey music gig events that are happening locally in their pubs. So I hope that's been useful for you as a taster to what small business apps can do for you in terms of marketing. If you'd like to get in touch, then please do scan this QR code that you see in front of you in order to download our affordable app questionnaire. And this serves as a planning tool. It's a list of about 15 questions that we ask of you. And you can. This would be useful as a planning tool to help you understand if your business might be ready to harness the power of mobile app technology. I hope that's been useful for you, and if you'd like to, you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Once again, loads of information in there, so thank you so much. And to both of you, Joyce and Rich, for sharing so much from your expert knowledge for the small businesses who are live here today and those who can watch it back afterwards. So we have got a few questions in the chat, in the Q&A, I should say. And if you're live today and you'd like to ask any questions, please feel free now. We had a couple quite early on. So Rich, you may have answered some of these or certainly touched on them in your presentation. Joyce, feel free to jump in. I wonder if perhaps if I put this to Rich, one of the questions we had was, what financial software provider would you recommend for an SME?
So there is no one size fits all, otherwise there wouldn't be other ones out there. So I would say it's very much trying to work out what that particular SME requires. The one I tend to recommend, because I only find very few cases where it doesn't fit, is Xero. But that's definitely not a sales pitch. It's just saying that's the one that when I'm talking to people, that tends to fit the best. But there wouldn't be other ones out there if there weren't markets for them. So I've worked with the others. We've developed on top of the others before. They are all good. They do what they need to do. Just from a breadth of features, though, I think Xero probably slightly trumps it for me.
Thank you. Joyce, you're nodding. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I do agree with Rich as well. I use Xero and it's fantastic for us.
Thank you. Also, now, excuse me to the person who asked if I don't even pronounce this right. Hopefully the people, our speakers will know better. Somebody's asked, which is better, Calendly or Acuity scheduling?
Yeah, it's not one I've come across before, but I did just quickly Google it, as you'd expect me to be able to have a quick look at it. All I'd say is the reason why Calendly was in my slides was because it's free, it's freely available to use, and it was part of a selection of free apps. If you've got apps that work better for your particular industry or your particular business, or if you are, as I think that's geared towards, it's more around paid for appointments and maybe like kind of regular monthly appointments and things like that. Obviously, I'm not saying Calendly is the only game in town, so do kind of go out there and have a look at some of the other ones you've got. Again, go consult your favorite professional geek somewhere. It'll be nice and friendly for you to go and do that. So not saying one is better than the other, but Calendly was in there because it was free.
Thank you, Rich. Along the lines of, and other apps are available, somebody has pointed out very helpfully that Sway is fee-free and you can use your phone to take payments. No doubt people watching this will have all sorts of recommendations. So yeah, it's always really helpful to share recommendations. I think especially among the small business community, the more we can share information and recommendations, the better. And also recommended Canva for slide creation, and you can manage with the free version, they've said, so thank you.
Yeah. Just very quickly pick up on both of those, just very quickly say Sway is brilliant, except it's only on bank transfers and relies on the other person using mobile banking, which at the minute you're hitting about 70% of UK consumers using that. So do think about, you might lose one out of every 3 sales by only using that as a potential, but absolutely add it to the toolkit, use it. And again, Canva, I didn't mention it because it wasn't a like-for-like replacement for anything I was talking about in there, but again, very good tool.
Thank you. Joyce, did you have anything to add to that?
Where do I start, actually? I think as an app agency, we use Stripe a lot, and also Square as well. I think lately has become quite a good tool, recommended tool to me by my clients, our clients. And PayPal as well is still very much there, although they might be a little bit behind in terms of Stripe payments, I think. So yeah, I don't know if Rich has other things to add to that as well.
Horses for courses again. I think there's so many of these out there. I kind of picked a few out to give some examples, but it's very much on a case-by-case basis.
When we have our virtual networking in my area of Leicestershire, Northamptonshire and Rutland, quite often when we have our breakout rooms, we ask the attendees to share what apps they find helpful, because as you say, Rich, there's so many and it always changes. So whenever you've got the opportunity, I would say share your recommendations and ask other businesses in your network what they use. We do have a question, Joyce, which perhaps you can answer. Is there a free app software if we wanted to create our own app as a starting point?
Gosh, I don't know if there's a free app software that we can use. I think some of the software that you see, I did quote App Institute. They may offer a free trial, which they typically do, but then it's usually not free in the end. It might be a free trial for 14 days, after which then you have to make a decision there. But the caveat about that is, of course, you can try it and test it and see if you like it or not. But just try and make sure when you do use these apps on the platform that they offer adequate support for you, because I think that's quite important. And you might find that you need to consult other professionals as well with the app launch and marketing in order to make the app successful. So they do offer one part of the process, but not necessarily the entire process, if that helps.
Thank you. We also have somebody's very kindly shared about their experience, the business that they're setting up and the app that they're looking to create. But absolutely, as we've mentioned, a sole trader, budget's extremely tight, and awareness of apps and their marketing potential is also, pretty tight and not great at the moment. So I think great that you were able to come today, actually, and just keep asking the questions. And it does sound like there's definitely an opportunity there for this business, which actually is an introduction agency for singles. So that is something that could work well, and perhaps if you want to connect afterwards, there's opportunity to point you in more directions to take you, keep you going. And well done on the idea. And also, we have another question. Any comment on now again, I'm showing my ignorance here, on the Piers Linney Startup Moblocks. This is supposed to be a one-stop shop to help from startup to large, medium-sized businesses.
From what I gather, that's not an app. It's just kind of an online news site and an online content site that you can find information on. Get your news where you want to get your news from. Get your information where you want to get your news from. I included the ones that I did, such as the Open University, Be the Business, only because of the backing that they've had. Obviously, the OU being the OU, Be the Business being backed by the government. But also then looking at kind of the Google ones, only because of the affiliation with FSB. There's lots of places out there you can kind of go and get that information, but I highlighted the ones I did just because of where we are and who we are as a community.
Thanks, Rich. And the last one just to point out for now is somebody's raised actually the apps and the support around businesses going green is another place to perhaps take a look. Now, I've pointed out that we do have an FSB sustainability hub on our website. Doesn't particularly focus on apps in focus. It's more about generally how businesses can go green, where they can start to look into it. So I think finding out about the apps that could help businesses is also an interesting place to look, because it's really a big topic.
Yeah, it is. And it's one that's really close to my heart. And so I completely get the point. What's really interesting for me, I guess, is there's nothing out there that's kind of broken through into the mainstream yet. So the person asking the question, if they do want to get in touch with me, I put my details up earlier on LinkedIn and Twitter. Please do, because I'd love to kind of have that conversation about where those apps are and what they're doing at the moment. Because I think you're absolutely right. We need to be talking about that and doing more around that area. It's maybe not a mature enough market yet to kind of make some recommendations.
I think it's just a question of time, isn't it, with these different industry sectors moving into the app space?
Yeah, and I think going forward in the future, sustainability and digital technology and apps are both growing at a rate. So it's really important for small businesses not to get left behind and to be able to keep up and understand where those resources are that can help them. So thank you so much. Thank you for the comment that's just been put in there. Thank you so much to everybody who's shared their questions. Thank you for coming today. We're almost out of time, and we of course will be putting this recording on afterwards, but don't forget you can find this and many other recorded webinars on the FSB's website under the skills section, where you'll also find a wide range of articles, blogs and guides. I did say at the beginning, please do download the FSB app and browse and book onto another event coming up. We're in May 2022 now, and there are still 110 events to go this month alone from the FSB. And don't forget you can access services like the Legal Helpline and the Legal Hub through the app and the FSB members area of the website. So thank you again to Rich and Joyce. If you enjoyed the event today, or indeed just enjoy being an FSB member, please do leave us a Trustpilot review. We'd really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you at the next event. Thanks, Rich and Joyce.